But Moose, I'm going to need your help today. I might need the help of the entire audience today. Can someone please talk me off the ledge about what's going on here with the Mets? Can someone help me find a silver lining? Can you help me squint so I can see some light at the end of the tunnel? And I know that Jacob deGrom is coming back tonight. Great. Not only do they need his arm, they could probably use his bat, which is saying something about how this team has not been hitting. But the updates yesterday were jarring. You have Conforto and McNeil might not be back till the end of June. You have Nimmo with a setback. By the way, it's a nerve issue, so this is really going to be about pain tolerance here for Brandon Nimmo, not that he's going to probably be healthy for the rest of the year. You got Carlos Carrasco is not going to be ready until late June or early July. J.D. Davis even had a stiff neck. He's got a setback that kept him out of a rehab game. Alonso maybe next week. Lugo hopefully next week. And honestly, the pitching hasn't even really been the problem, but they've been injured all up and down. But the real issue is this team can't hit. I mean, Moose, losing 3 straight, losing how they did last night, was that Randy freaking Johnson on the mound, or was it some kid we've never heard of before who happened to be pitching the game of his life? I mean, honestly, where is Lindor? Please, somebody tell me where he is. Still hitting 189. He's driven in 9
Green,
runs.
You can't miss him.
Yeah, thanks. 20 games into April, 15 hits. He had the same amount in 20 games in May. I mean, we're a quarter of the way through the season. He's got 4 doubles. Something tells me he's not going to get to 40 this year. I mean, how is it? And this was a graphic that SNY, I want to applaud the people who work on the broadcast because they're so good, but this one just made my stomach drop. How is it that Jason Bay had driven in 7 more runs in his first 40 games than Lindor has? I mean, Jason Bay, the poster child, one of them, for Mets busts. I mean, people are hoping Lindor is in shades of Roberto Alomar. Hell, even Alomar was hitting better through 40 games. His first 40 with the Mets. I mean, Dom's driven in 1 run in his last 10 games. He's got 2 multi-hit games in the last 2 weeks. And you got the acting general manager, because they won't even remove that tag from him, saying that he's working the phones day and night. Where? Who are the options that you're going to be able to come up with at this point? Again, it's not all their fault. The Mets did build a team that had depth. It's been so decimated. So you're working the phones now. I just have no confidence they're going to be able to find any kind of real solutions. Look at what's going on with Cameron Maybin. He's 0 for 19 with 11 strikeouts. I mean, and he was like a flyer in case of emergency, and it's been bad. I mean, it's crazy because the Mets are working the phones now way before the trade deadline in July. You've basically put it out there that you're open for business, which I'm glad you did, but you're asking to get fleeced by a team right now too. They see you there struggling, and they're going to try to work you like your name is Brody Van Wagenen. It is just really hard to find some light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm hoping that the audience can help me because I feel like I'm on the ledge here. And even with deGrom coming back tonight, he can only do so much. We've seen Junes before that have sunk this team. And I am so worried that with all the optimism and all of everything that came along with the 2021 Mets, that by the end of June, this is just going to be they're going to be roadkill. And I need to find some optimism here because after yesterday and those injury updates, I don't really have any way to feel good about this team.
But I don't think there's a lot of optimism right now. So I think anybody that's going to call up and say everything's going to be all right, I mean, how is that possible? So, I mean, you need guys like Dom Smith. Lindor's been terrible. I mean, he's been awful. But I mean, it's a small sample size. You look at it when he broke out offensively. You look at 17, 18, 19, right? You're looking at when he's hitting 30-plus home runs with Cleveland. Well, I mean, we know the ball was juiced, right? So you look at 2016, he had 15 home runs. You look at what he is right now as a Met, he's not even giving you that. He's not driving the baseball. The at-bats are absolutely meek, and he wanted the money. The Mets paid him. Everyone celebrated when they paid him. You could have went a different path instead of not paying him and waited him out. How much would he be sweating right now if he was having this kind of year where he was making the demands of, 10 years, $341 million. Eventually he got that from Uncle Steve and the Mets, and everyone celebrated. He's been a disaster. I don't care about the leadership. I don't care about the smile. I don't care about the flair. I don't care about the hair. I don't care about any of that with Francisco Lindor. Offensively, he has been a monumental failure and a disaster. And, we could keep on saying until the cows come home that, well, he's too good of a hitter. Look at his resume. Look at what he's done in the past. Well, also look at the fact that the ball has changed. Look at the fact of where offense is now in Major League Baseball. Why exactly are you not seeing an adjustment from Francisco Lindor? Why am I getting the conversation between Apple and Zeal last night on the postgame show, what's wrong with Francisco Lindor? Well, it's more of the same. He's off balance. His upper half and his bottom half are not working in unison with one another. He's not driving the baseball. Everything that we've talked about, but now we're 2 months in. I mean, we're 40 games in to his MLB Mets career on this level, and he's hitting under 200. I mean, it's comically bad what Lindor has been, and the Mets don't have a lot of options. I mean, you're not going to be able to go trade for a guy that's going to be a difference maker in the outfield. You're just not. I mean, that's not happening. So, I mean, you're not getting blown out in these games. The pitching is holding up. The bullpen is getting abused on a nightly basis. I worry about the bullpen. You have McCann playing first base for the first time in his major league career last night. He did make a nice diving play, throwing over to Peterson to get the out at first base. But all of those things that we're looking at with this team, it's no longer about, major league depth. Now it's a matter of trying to keep your head above water, trying to survive. That's what it's about right now because, as Scott mentioned yesterday, I mean, all the injuries, it's not great. You're going to get Lugo back here soon. You're going to get Syndergaard back. Hopefully there's no setback mid-June. You ran through it with Conforto McNeil. You look at Brandon Nimmo dealing with that nerve issue, and now it's a matter of pain threshold and what can he manage being able to play through it and playing through that nerve issue that he has now. So all of these things, there's little to no outfield. The Mets don't have any outfielders. They didn't have many outfielders to begin the season. Now without Nimmo, now without Conforto, even the president, Sandy Alderson, said Dom Smith's a first baseman. He's not an outfielder. Well, he's been playing left field, right? You're going to get Alonso back. That was a positive from Scott yesterday, so you like to see that. Hopefully at some point next week. DeGrom toes the rubber tonight. So the one thing is that I'll give you the positive. The division stinks. The division stinks.
Okay.
I mean, so if you look at it, there's nobody that's going to be running away with the division. So Atlanta is not particularly good. They've dealt with injuries. Miami's not going anywhere. You look at the Philadelphia Phillies, they're not going anywhere. The Washington Nationals are not going anywhere. The division stinks. So the Mets are going out there. They're going through all of these injuries, and you could say, well, they'll be battle-tested when these guys do return, and hopefully they do return and are able to stay healthy. But that would be the one silver lining, is that it's not a hole that you're digging yourselves out of. The Mets, the division, nobody's going anywhere right now in the division, so it's survival mode, and I don't think there's any move that the Mets are going to be able to make to alleviate all the different stress points that you have in this lineup on a day-in, day-out basis now.
Yeah, but Moose, I mean, you're saying that the division stinks, and so, they're good for now. For now. Yeah. I mean, tell me in 2 weeks what kind of hole they could be digging themselves out of, and it's because
What team is getting hot in that division?
I know, but
nobody.
I'm not even thinking about the other teams. I know that plays into it, but I'm looking at this team that they're rolling out, that they're being forced to roll out, and you just lost even another guy in Fargus last night because he ran into the wall. Like, they are just dropping like flies, and I'm not even so much concerned right now about the rest of the NL East. I'm concerned that you might not be able to win a game against the Colorado Rockies, a team that had won 2 games on the road before you got here. And then you are going to, at some point, you're going to leave here very soon to go on a pretty significant road trip. And I'm just worried about how big of a hole you could be in by the time you get back to New York, because this team is not a major league. You don't have a major league roster that's playing right now. You have a couple guys, and then you have everyone else as the backup to the backup.
No, I get it, but here's the deal. I mean, where's the narrative of everyone celebrating? How are the Mets doing this?
Well, with the Mazekas and those guys?
I mean, yeah.
It's just not sustainable.
I mean, it's because I heard that at the time as well. So I agree with you. It's not sustainable. But
and it's going to be time to pay the piper here, and that's why I'm worried.
2 games separate first from last in the National League East. The Mets don't have to win 95 games to win their division and get to the playoffs. Let's have a little bit of a dose of reality. They're not in the same division with the Dodgers. They're not in the same division as the Padres. They're not in the same division, as the White Sox or the Yankees or the upper echelon teams. When you look across Major League Baseball, you look at it. The team that's in last place in the National League East is 2 games out, and that's the Nats, and they're 20-23 on the season. I mean,
I know, but
it's a terrible division. Nobody's going anywhere. They're all spinning their wheels. So that would be the one, if you're looking for a silver lining when you look at it, is yes, the Mets aren't good. Yes, the Mets are fielding for the more intensive purposes in their everyday lineup more minor leaguers than anything else. I get that. And you're right. I mean, who knows? 2 weeks from now, it could be a monumental hole. The pitching staff's keeping them into these games. They're not getting their doors blown off. So you have to hope that DeGrom is once again brilliant tonight. Let's see if they are able to scratch across a W against a Rocky team, as you mentioned, Maggie, that have been awful. I mean, they're not a particularly good team to begin with, but, I mean, they've been terrible on the road this year. Just their second victory on the road last night. So all of those things, when you look at this Met team, even with all of those injuries, even with everybody being out of the lineup, they're still in first place.
Right, and you can say that today.
They're still in. Yes, that is what I'm saying today.
I know, but I'm forecasting and foreshadowing what could be a very, very difficult June. First of all, because we've seen bullpen overusage has sunk this team in June before. The bullpen's been great, but there's only so much they can do when they're being used in a way like this with the high usage. And I'm worried about the spiral. Like, that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, it's great to have the Patrick Mazekas and the fun stories. Those are like blips. That's something that's fun for a week. I'm talking about a month where you might not have any of your, you're not getting back enough significant everyday players that you can prevent a spiral. That's where I'm concerned. I'm not concerned about, today, yeah, I'm concerned about today. You got DeGrom on the mound, so less of a concern. But I'm worried about June. I'm worried about after getting those injury updates yesterday and realizing how long it could be before you're even going to be anywhere close to whole. Anywhere close. I'm talking about your everyday position players. This is going to be a slog here. And I appreciate the Nitos, and I appreciate those guys, and I appreciate what they're doing. But we all have watched enough baseball to know that what's more likely, it's more likely they're going to revert back to who they've been as opposed to they are going to break out. If they break out, great, fantastic. But I can't bank on that. And so that's why I'm asking someone to talk me off the ledge.
I'm not looking for them. They don't have to break out, but what's the mainstay on this team? The mainstay on this team is their starting rotation, and their starting rotation is getting their best starter back into the rotation tonight.
I know, but you have Taijuan Walker, who's still hurt. The Carrasco news was not that. Syndergaard could be back before Carrasco.
Carrasco's disappeared like a fart in the wind. He's had no impact on this team. The staff has done what they've done without Cookie Carrasco, and it's great that Noah Syndergaard is continuing his rehab down in Port St. Lucie, and hopefully you see him back in mid-June. So the rotation, even with the Walker news, has done its part for the most part. Aside from the spot start from Joey Lucchesi or the bullpen game, those games for the most part have not gone particularly well for Luis Rojas and the Mets. Listen, Maggie, it's not a good scenario. The positive you would say is there's nothing. You can go there. There are guys out there that are on the street as free agents. Go get Yasiel Puig. Go out there and bring in Yasiel Puig if you're looking for a major league outfielder. That's not going to cost you anything. You're not going to go trade for an all-star outfielder at this stage of the season. That's not going to happen.
No, you're going to get fleeced.
There was a report in Minnesota that the Twins, who have had a god-awful year, they're going to start dumping guys left and right. If you're Alderson and Scott, are you going to call the Minnesota Twins and see what you can do to try and strengthen this team in the here and now? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go that route. I do know this. When I look at this team, getting DeGrom back is certainly going to help. But the answers are from within when you look at Francisco Lindor has got to start hitting here. There does come a point where, the adjustment to New York, coming over from Cleveland, all of the getting the contract, everything that we've talked about with Lindor as a player. Well, it's time to put the big boy pants on. And for Francisco Lindor, I really don't care about his defense any longer. Nor do I care about the communication with the pitcher when a guy's on second base. Nor do I care about his leadership. Nor do I care about, Francisco Lindor's got to start leading with the bat. Because this team is desperate need for an offensive infusion in that lineup. And there are not a lot of answers. There really aren't when you look at the position players that they are missing on the regular now. Well, one of those guys is Francisco Lindor. So I don't want to hear about the guys hitting around him. I don't want to hear about him being off balance. I don't want to hear about any of that. You wanted the money. Cohen paid you the money. Well, with that comes the expectations that you need to start to perform. And aside from maybe a 4 or 5 game stretch this year, Francisco Lindor has been an absolute zero offensively.
It's just been nothing. It's been nothing, and you start to wonder, is this going to be a lost half of the season? Is this just going to be chalk it up to one half of the season where it takes him to get used to New York or it takes him to get comfortable here? Is it going to be 3/4 of a season? I mean, how long is this going to go? Because the first quarter has been absolutely dreadful.